Do you think that's a good running form? Because that's what we're gonna find out today. So here's what's up. Like I told you in my previous video, I broke my main camera. Fortunately, I was able to borrow a bunch of lenses and cameras from a local camera shop. And I'm especially interested in this Canon EOS R6, which I'm using to film right now. I did forget to turn on 4K, so this is just full HD, but that's okay. But anyways, the thing that separates this camera from the camera I used to own is that this camera can film full HD in 120 frames per second. In other words, slow motion. You know, I was thinking about how could I use this new potential, and then it hit me. I should just film myself running in slow motion and then analyze my running form. And what's even better, you can do the same thing. It's super easy, super simple. You only need a camera and a pair of eyes to do this analysis. So let's get to it. First, I'm gonna run for about a mile just to warm up all my muscles and get rid of any stiffness I might have, which I usually do, and to just, you know, get my stride going. Then I'm gonna film myself running with 3 different paces. Easy pace, that's my FTP pace, and then I'm gonna run with a fast pace. And I'm gonna film all these paces from 2 different angles. I'm gonna film them from the side view, and then I'm gonna film them from the front view. So 2 different camera angles, 3 different paces. And that's all the footage I need from here. And then after that, I can go back to my computer, look at the footage, and analyze it. So, I've now been looking at the footage for quite some time, and I can tell you, it's not that pretty. The form is not that good. But before we jump into analyzing my running form, let's just go through like a really general template for a good running form. You want to look ahead towards the horizon. Make sure that you're not pushing your head too much forward. You should stay loose and relaxed in your shoulders. You should keep your elbows close to your sides and at around 90-degree angle. You should swing your hands to propel yourself forward and really focus on driving your elbows back. But while you swing, you shouldn't cross the vertical center line of your body. You should also run tall. It might help to imagine a wire that's pulling you up from your head. Foot placement is debatable, but generally it is advised to avoid a heel strike because it creates impact forces and can act as a brake. But what is agreed on is where your foot should land. Your foot should land under your center of gravity, so basically under your body, not in front of you and not behind you, because, well, that's just weird. And that's really like a really general template for a good running form. Also, the type of running you do affects the perfect running form. For instance, while sprinters should raise their knees really high to achieve maximal leg power, distance runners shouldn't really do that because it's just not sustainable for a really long run. And there is a good podcast that goes into running biomechanics and running form. I highly encourage you to listen to it. It's That Triathlon Show, episode 111. But now let's look at my horrible running form. Let me just get set up here. Okay, maybe that's good. Another day, another try. So I would say I have 3 main problems with my running form. Problem 1, I might be slightly overstriding, and it seems I'm landing a bit too much on my heel. Just look at this. I'm gonna stop it right there. So you can see the first part to touch the ground seems to be the heel. But the good thing is, and this is what the professionals told me when I did a professional video analysis like a year ago, even though my heel might be the first thing touching the ground, most of my weight is transferred up my foot only when my midfoot touches the ground. So it might not be that big of a problem. But still, I think it would be better if I would land more on my midfoot, because this slight heel strike might be the reason why I got shin splints when I trained for the Ultraman. So how can I fix this? Well, one way to do it is to do drills. High knees, which reinforces midfoot landing, high cadence and hamstring flexibility. Butt kicks, which improves quadricep and hip flexor flexibility while reinforcing high cadence. And a skip, which reinforces midfoot landing, high cadence and improves coordination. And the way I would do these drills is to complete one set in 30 to 50 meters, then walk back, and then in total I would do 2 to 3 sets of each drill before my actual run. The second problem is my low cadence. Or it's not that low, but it could be a bit higher. And cadence refers to the number of steps you take per minute. So what I did here is I calculated the number of steps I took in 10 seconds, then I multiplied that number by 6 to get how many steps I take each minute. And I found out that I take 162 steps per minute when I'm running with an easy pace, 174 steps when I'm running with my FTP pace, and then when I just run fast, I take 198 steps per minute. But most of the elite runners, they run with a cadence of at least 180 steps per minute. Of course, if you're taller, usually your cadence is lower, and for a person like me who has really long legs, a cadence of like 174 would probably be pretty good. So at my FTP pace, my cadence is actually pretty good, but most of my running is done in the easy pace, and I would like that to be closer to 175 steps per minute. And cadence is really one of those things that fixes a lot of running problems, because if you increase your cadence, you also reduce the risk of overstriding, and hence you also reduce the risk of injury. And the way you can go about increasing your cadence is to buy a metronome or download an app that works as a metronome. Then, let's say my normal cadence is 162, I would go for a run, I would set the metronome to beep a bit higher than 162, let's say 165 beeps per minute. And then I would do cadence intervals. So let's say I would, for 5 minutes, listen to the metronome and run to the beat. And then gradually you would increase the length of those intervals until you're running 165 steps per minute automatically. And then the third problem is that I'm so damn stiff in my upper body. If you look at me running, I would say I could swing my hands way more to propel myself forward a lot more. And another part that is really immobile, which I just know because I've had problems with it in the past, is my hip. And I mean, hip is really a key part of running, as you might guess. So mobilizing these things, mobilizing my upper body, especially my shoulders, and mobilizing my hip would probably do wonders to, well, both my running form, but also it would reduce the risk of injury for me. So how might I go about doing that? Well, I've tried to mobilize myself many times. I've tried to stretch a lot. Sometimes I've actually had like a few months when I've stretched a lot, but it's so hard to see progress in that. But the one thing I have been consistent with is doing yoga, and especially doing skill yoga. This is a shameless plug, but I just have to say I've been enjoying the app because it like gamifies my mobility training. It shows me the day streaks, shows me the minutes, how many minutes I've trained this month, and just like stuff like that. And it's just super easy to just start the app, listen to what the coach says, and then do the session. Did that make any sense? I don't know. I'm working on it, but I know that's one really big thing if I want to improve my running. And one final thing that I really want to incorporate in my training, a thing that can actually fix almost all of these problems, is barefoot running. Now, I'm not talking about going for a run barefoot and running on like hard pavement. I'm talking about running on soft surfaces like grass or sand. And one way to train that is to, again, before your actual running workout, to do some short bursts of running, not even that fast, just running on grass or sand. I can really feel a difference in my running form, like instantly. Like when you take your shoes off, you're instantly and automatically running more on your toes. And I read that regularly doing these short runs on grass can really help your overall running form. So, I mean, that's something I also want to do. Also, I would love to learn together, so if you have any comments or tips about my form, comment them below, because then I will learn something from you and other people will see the comment and learn about running forms. And yeah, I'm not gonna even ask you to subscribe. You'll do it if you want to see more. I trust you on that. Cool. Johnny out. And you can still see me.